Good morning. If you can hear me, please give me a note. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please leave a message or a note. Make sure I'm online. Make sure, since I'm doing things a little differently today, this is a good, beautiful Sabbath here in Texas. Very snowy, very cold, and very wet. But I'm hoping that you're hearing me. If you are, leave a little note, and I'll know I'd hate to go through this process and not be live. I think I am. I'm going to go ahead. All those who are tuning in, all those who will tune in. I know that we're usually in a different setting. We're usually at the Biblical Lifestyle Center in its main hall of meetings or hall of gatherings. And we have a beautiful scene behind us. Today, you're in my office, and you've got whatever scenery you may see behind me in my office, and whatever lighting we have. I see someone saying, "Let's easily Shabbat Shalom to you." Those who check in, yes, and Deb Shenfield. Blessings, Petra, good to see you as well. All those from different countries, all those from different states in the country of America, all those across the world who join in, please drop a note. Let us know you're here. Let us know you're listening, and anything you have to pray about or wish to say, we'd be happy to respond. I will look at all the notes, I promise you, for each person who leaves a message on our videos. Today we have the amazing privilege, stunning privilege to step into the next realm of kingdom wisdom, the kingdom majesty. And that, hello Evelyn, how are you doing? Gary, good to see you, brother. MJ, beautiful, thanks for coming and joining us. Such a pleasure to see you all. We're going to go into the next realm of the King's vision for us. He envisions so much for you and for me. When we have difficulties on earth, when we have relational problems, when our health begins to wane or fail, when we have financial difficulties, when we have political or ideological differences with other people that become rubbing points, very points of great friction, we sometimes forget, unfortunately, these are distractions, and what we're really here to do is be someone and do something totally beautiful and transformative in this world. We're called to be the royal ambassadors, the emissaries of the creator of the universe, mingling heaven and its majesty and its goodness and its wisdom and its perspective with the natural, normal, mundane, sometimes toxic affairs of life on earth. So sometimes we forget, and I know that for my friends in Texas and surrounding regions, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, my good friends in all those places and others, this has been a week when revival. There was a major winter storm of historic proportions here. Power outages, water freezing, pipes breaking, lack of food in grocery stores. If you could get out, you couldn't find anything. No gasoline, those sorts of things. It was a extreme. So we are coming out of it. We're about to come out of it. Some of my friends aren't out of it yet. Some of my friends still don't have power, still don't have water, still don't have a place they can get food or gasoline. I understand that, and our blessings is to you. Now, all I'm saying about that is not to make you piteous across the world. That is not the key. We have our King, and He provides all that we need. So thank you for your prayers. We do ask you to continue to pray. But realize that we're not trying to ask you for sympathy or pity, that we're not trying to blame a government. We're not trying to blame any politician. This is we are in a cold, dead part of winter, and if global warming is real, it hasn't reached us yet. So here we are in this mode. And what we're trying to do at this particular stage is, okay, this is one of those distraction processes where we are subject to becoming very cold physically and emotionally. But on the other hand, this is the time we press in even greater and more to the courts and the ways and the healing powers and the restoration and the provision of our King. So this is our Shabbat. This is Shabbat Terumah. The 19th Parshat of Torah is our portion for the day. It runs from chapter 26, verse 1, through chapter 27. I believe it's verse 37, but basically the end of chapter 27. And so this is a shocking transformation. We have been dealing with revelations from heaven. We're at Mount Sinai, so revelations from heaven are flowing. They are shocking to us. They are overwhelming our senses. Make us see ourselves in light of so much more than just the things that go on in our world. Because we are not here to be shaped by our world. We are here to reshape. Are here to give into the world the majesty, the kedusha, the holiness energy of heaven. We are to receive it, store it up like solar panels of some variety. We receive in ourselves the majesty and the holiness energy and the power of the heavenlies, and then we begin to reflect that into our world. That is how we are the light of the world. That is how we emulate Yeshua in being the light of the world. We receive and embrace the kedusha and the holiness and the majesty of heaven. So finding out a little bit about that, we're going to take a giant leap forward today that's going to propel us throughout the book, the rest of the book of Exodus, all through the book of Leviticus, and for at least the first 10 chapters of the book of Numbers. This Sinaitic revelation that takes us higher and higher, step by step, ascents into the heavenly realms and into our heavenly on earth is just beginning, and we are at what I call the introduction. Our King lives, dwells, pulses from a place of unimaginable beauty, majesty, and glory. This realm is parallel to us. It is all around us. It is in the molecules of the air around us. It's not some foreign location we have to travel to. It is all around us. It is in the invisible realm, but we are access to that realm at all times. That should be the place we go. And so Parshat Terumah introduces the beauty realm to us. Wow, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but it introduces us to the Terumah Protocol. Talk about what Terumah means and what a Terumah protocol would look like and how it would work its way into your life and be functional. Then we're going to talk about the Mishkan. That's the Hebrew phrase that English Bibles translate into English as tabernacle. Tabernacle. Shekan is at the root of it, and it means to indwell, to stay with, to be a permanent resident of, not just to be a visitor, not just to be sort of an inspector, but to be a permanent abiding residence. When Yeshua talked about abiding in the vine, that's the word that he would have used in Hebrew, shakaning in the vine. He calls us to shakan in him as he shakans in us. I and you and me, all the things that he talks about. This is the picture of Shekaning. And so the Mishkan means a whole lot more than a tabernacle. A tabernacle is a physical object that we think of as a tent or a structure, kind of a rude, crude structure that has some interesting parts to it, some components, maybe even some veils and some chambers and some furnishings. That's what we think of as a tabernacle. But a Mishkan, which is what the Hebrew and the Holy One to catch us, is we are to find ways to abide in him and for him to abide in us. A co-mingling, a co-regency, a co-laboring. We are to become as one with him. We don't become him, but we become as one with him. As a wife, as a bride becomes as one with a husband. And that's not a physical act, though there is a physicality. That is a personality merging That is a way, learning the ways, learning the timing, learning the protocols, learning the moods, learning the purposes and the vision of who we are. And the protocols that he wishes to use are through the Terumah protocols as he uses them. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that today. We'll hopefully have a good time of our conversation. Having a little difficulty getting some movement on my PowerPoint. So it is also the Sabbath we call Shabbat Zachor. Shabbat Zachor. 8 Adar is the Hebrew date. February 20th of 2021 is the English or Western calendar date. Shabbat Zachor. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? What does it mean to anyone? It means it's the Sabbath before Purim. For one thing, it means it's 3 Sabbaths before the first of Nisan, Aviv, the new year, from the standpoint of the biblical year. So we're about to. It means it's close to Passover. We're about about 6 weeks out of Passover. Not less than that, 5 weeks out of Passover. Now Shabbat Zachar is one of 4 Parshas, or one of 4 Sabbaths that we utilize to readjust our thought processes from the situations we're in, the difficulties we're experiencing, the challenges we face on a worldly, mundane basis, and turn our hearts toward Jerusalem. We set our hearts on pilgrimage, as the psalmist said it. And so we begin, prepare ourselves. Last week was a special Sabbath. We didn't talk about it on this broadcast, but last week it was a special Sabbath called Shabbat Shekalim, the Sabbath of shekels, laying aside your shekels. Actually, it's a bit more about preparing the terumah, the bringing up the understanding we're going to have to invest some finances, invest some of the natural things that the Holy One has provided to us in this great pilgrimage that we're going to make. The second is Shabbat Zachar. And this is to say we need to learn, Zachar usually is translated in English as to remember. To commemorate might be better. To actively engage with our minds in such a way. To use our minds. Remember we talked last week about renewing the mind? We talked in great detail about restoring it, purposes and power and energy. We talked about how the fact last week that we are presently using about 5% in the natural mental capacity, but in the garden before the fall, Adam had the full 100% functional. He was able to think the thought, flow in constant communion with him, whether he was physically present in his realm or whether he was out and about doing his service, his avodah of tending and keeping the garden. At any time, he was able to communicate by mind because his mind was attuned. Now, we want to renew the mind. Part of the renewing of the mind process, the first step, is to be able to focus our remembrance, focus our commemoration, where our minds are not trapped by the demands of the mundane, of the demands of the instant. We can handle them, we can process them, we can work with them, but we are not limited by them. We have a transcendent mode we can go into that allows us to see the helicopter view of what we're dealing with right now. Wouldn't you like to have a helicopter view where you can see not just what you're facing, but everything that's around it and how it got to where it is and where it's going and what the plan of the Creator of the universe really is, to be able to overcome this transcendence and bring good into the world even as a result of what we've experienced. That's the helicopter view. Well, that's what Shabbat Zachar, that's what Zacharing is all about in the Hebrew. It is about focusing intently your mind, learning to use the mental capacity that he is reawakening, I should say, in you, that was there before the foundation, that he made into man, built into humanity, to reawaken that and focus it on that which is the energy source, the power source, the holiness source, the Kedusha energy source, and not on problems, not on people, not on issues, not on offenses, not on things that we normally would focus on. So this Shabbat Zachar is turning our focus. Now, an interesting thing is, traditionally, what are we to focus on? It's strange. It's not really strange when you consider it's the week before Purim, the Shabbat before Purim. But what we're focused on is to remember from Deuteronomy 25:17 through 19, remember Amalek. Remember that you have adversaries. Remember, everything is not going to be nice and rosy and beautiful in this world. Keep that in mind. Do not expect it. Let your expectations of what's going to happen to you in this world be limited by the reality that the Holy One has so arranged creation that you will have adversity. You will have difficulty. You will have troubles, and you will have enemies who hate you. Remember Amalek and what he did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt. Remember how he attacked those who were weak, those who were at the rear, those who were not keeping up with the rest. Remember how he was so dashingly taking the advantage of the most vulnerable of your population. Remember, this is who he always is, who he always will be, what you will always need to deal with, why you will always need to remain vigilant and remain above it all, but yet remain in it all. Remain watchful over your children. Remain watchful over your spouses. Remain watchful over your elderly. Remain watchfully over your weak, your sick, your widow, your fatherless. Remain watchful over your poor and those who are struggling financially and physically in every way. Remain watchful over them because there is an adversary. You know, obviously Peter talked about he's like a roaring lion, you know, roaming around looking for who he may devour. Amalek is like that. We have an adversary. And as it goes on to say at the end, it says, whenever you come to the fullness of the land, whenever you come into your inheritance, whenever you come into the place where you will function in your fullness, whenever you do that, remember to blot out the memory of Amalek forever. Now this is that process. You say, okay, who's Amalek? Well, we're going to see it we're going to see it in Purim because that's one reason it's important that we remember Purim. I'm not saying you need to follow all the rabbinical rules of Purim. I'm just saying what we need to do is make sure we understand who the adversary is, that we have an adversary, that we are always pilgrims and sojourners in this world, that we don't have any rights under any government or under any political position. We are always here at the mercy of our King, at the whim, according to the passion and the plan and the strategies of the Creator of the universe to endure and to overcome whatever He provides for us to endure and overcome for the greater good of creation. It is not about our comfort and pleasure. It is about learning how to be responsible agents of the kingdom in every situation. If we are not present and doing this in every situation, then we are leaving gaps in the kingdom coming to the world, to the physical world. We are supposed to pray, your kingdom come and your will be done on earth. And that includes every sphere of influence we may have, every sphere of influence you may have in this earth. May his kingdom come. May his will be done on the earth. Well, so Shabbat Zachor. I will just kind of leave that with you. Talk about then the protocols of Parshat Terumah. What if I were to tell you that the Holy One, the creator of the universe, it shouldn't shock you, is a builder. He's a master designer. He's a design and build specialist of all specialists. So he has plans for building. He has plans for something to take place. He's a choreographer. He's an artist. He's a script writer. He's a copyright author. He does creative things in everything he does. One of the things that he loves to do is build a place that reflects his glory. That it's like a painter. You know, they want their painting not just to be something that sells. I'm sure there's some of that. A master painter, though, a real master, wants to reflect his talent in a way that awes and inspires the world. Well, so it is with the Holy One. He wants to build a place. He wants us to hunger, to co-labor with him to build a place. in which his glory, his majesty, his holiness, his beauty can be reflected, can be carried forth and shared with generation after generation, shared with person after person, shared with geographical location after geographical location. He wishes to bring himself back into the world in such a way, through his people, through his covenant people, through you and me, in such a way that his glory covers the earth. All the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Holy One, just as the waters cover the sea. This is his plan. Part of that plan is to build, I call it the tent maker's dream. He dreams of a great tent. He has this vision. He has this blueprint. He has this thing in his mind that he desires for himself to dwell in some sort of tent-like form upon the earth. Now, ultimately, his goal, I think you all know this, his plan is to do that in you and to do that in me. We are the tabernacle. We are the Mishkan. We are the temple of the Holy One. And that is his ultimate goal, but we are no way ready for this. We are not even in the same mindset. We can't focus. We can't think. We don't have the same goals and priorities. We are fallen, and we have come out of bondage and slavery. We have wounds. We have offenses. We have paradigms. Viewpoint. We have philosophies, we have ideologies, we have political theories, we have all these things here, sociological things, we have medical, we have all this stuff, science, we have all these different things that man has dreamed up. And they clog our ability to be able to actually host the presence of the Holy One, to receive and emanate then the power and the glory and the goodness and the beauty of the King. So he is going to teach us, he has a training protocol to teach us how and what it consists of to actually host his presence and to actually receive, embrace, and then begin to emit the holiness aspects of his nature, of his character, and his talent, his creativity here on the earth. And that, the teaching protocol that he has designed for us is the tabernacle. It is the Mishkan. It is a physical structure that he is going to teach us in this parsha. We are actually to build for him. This is not the ultimate goal. Well, the tabernacle is not the highest and best. The physical tabernacle that's built with man-made, with materials of the earth. That's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for you and me to be that tabernacle. Yeshua will model what that looks like when it comes in a human being. When a human being actually receives within himself and flows constantly, stays focused, and begins to continually emit the fullness, the beauty, the exact representation of his glory, as the writer said. This is when the writer of Hebrews, when this begins to take place, Yeshua models this for us, but we're not ready to receive that yet. So we get instead, what we get is the tabernacle. Hey, you think, well, I'm ready. Well, you remember last week or 2 weeks ago, when the great revelation of Sinai took place, the great theophany took place? Well, when the great theophany took place, we thought we were ready. We claimed, I say, whatever you tell us, we will build. We will make it happen. We will make it manifest. And then the voice of the Holy One spoke to us and told us what we look like, what we're supposed to look like. And we said, I don't even know how to think about how that's. We heard the 10 words. The 10 dirot, and we ran. We ran away. We as fast as our feet could fly. We took us a flight, and we said, Moshe, you go talk to him. You go listen to what he has to say. You go get the build-out plan. You go get the blueprints. You go get the specs. And somehow or other, after you do that, we'll begin to do it line bit by bit, line by line, as the case may be. And so that's where we are. That's why we're. And now he's going to give us a deeper vision. He's going to take Moshe, who is our representative, on a great tour of the heavenlies. I used to laughingly call it the magical mystery tour, Moshe's magical mystery tour. I don't really like to call it that much anymore because it is not a magical mystery tour. Basically, he is the Holy One, that is taking Moshe, and through the Torah is taking us with Moshe into his beauty realm. the realm where seraphim cry and with wings flutter, and angels and hosts of angels minister, where there is a river of life that flows from the throne, where there is a lampstand around the throne of the heavenlies, where cherubim are ministering, where four living creatures are there reflecting the glory in all different directions, and where the 24 elders constantly cast down their crowns. John 4, John 5, the Lamb is there. The Lamb is there with the scrolls. And these things this is the place he's going to take Moshe. And through Moshe, through the Torah, he's going to take us. We're going to see that we are part of something that is much greater than anything upon the earth. And no Taj Mahal, no seven wonders of the world that men have created, no Tower of Babel, or no golden calf, has no synagogue, no church, no Solomon's temple, no Herod's temple, no Ezekiel's temple can hold that kind of glory. But this is what is around him at all times. Now, so he's going to teach us about the tabernacle. What is the tabernacle? It is what is talked about in Hebrews as the first, and in English it says first covenant. The tabernacle, not the Torah. The Torah is eternal and forever. What he's talking about here is the model methodology, the scale model that he's going to give us, the pattern that he's going to give us. That is as the book of Hebrews talks about, and what we receive instead is the fullness of the original plan. We become the tabernacle, therefore the tabernacle in physical form passes away. That's what the book of Hebrews is talking about, warning you about. You're going to have to do this in life. This is not going to be something you play about in some sort of a dollhouse of the tabernacle. This is going to be every moment, all day long. 24/7, 365. So here we are, the dwelling place of the Holy One on earth. There's been a vision that man probably, I'm trying to remember in Torah the first place, and when man's hunger for this after the Garden of Eden. And I think I'll use the vision of Yaakov, Jacob, in chapter 20. Genesis. Do you remember what happened in that process? It was a dream. Yaakov was running away from his brother Esau and his home, and he's going off to Laban's house. He's going to get away and let his brother's wrath calm down after he took the birthright and the blessing. That's sort of a shorthand version. And on his first night away, he lays his head down on a stone, and he dreams. And in the dream, he sees a ladder, actually a staircase. A transition mode, a portal that goes with steps that goes between heaven and earth. And angels were ascending to heaven from earth and descending from heaven to earth on that stairway. And he sees this, but above the stairway, even greater, he sees in some form of image, in some form of where he knew what it was. He knew it was the actual creator of the universe himself. And it's right above his head. It's right with him. It's in his mind. It's in his conscious, subconscious realm. Somewhere in there is this picture of a portal that takes you to the heavenlies and brings the heavenlies back into the things of earth. And so Yaakov awakes. He sees the king, the creator of the universe above, how majestic, how glorious, how beautiful everything around him is. And he sees that, and he awakes and says, "Oh, how awesome you are in this place. I didn't know this was the gateway, the house of the Holy One, the house of the Holy One. I did not know this was the gateway of heaven. I did not know these things." And then he arises and he says, he sets up a stone. This is the first hint that humanity is really wanting to do this his way. The opposite is the Tower of Babel process, where we want to build something to go up to heaven. We want to invade heaven. We want to take over heaven. Man wants to be the ruler and subject God and his angels, if they exist even, to them. That's the Tower of Babel mindset. But the idea of the house of the Holy One, the house of the Lord, as you'll read it in the King James Version. The house of the Lord is something, Beit El, the house of God, is something else. And that is when he comes to earth. Not when we go up to him, not when we try to take over and storm heaven and make him do our will. When we surrender to his will, when we invite him into our lives, when we bring heaven's beauty and his majesty and its wisdom down into us and serve it, as opposed to asking it to serve us, playing like magicians or sorcerers that use supernatural powers to get our will. The opposite. No. The stone that Yaakov desired to build. He says, I will, if you'll do all these things, if you'll keep me safely, take me along the way, feed me, clothe me, all the way and bring me back to my father's house in Shalom, then you will be my God, and I will build you the house of the Holy One on this side. And he promises this. So there's this vision. What is the house? The house involves motion because it angels ascending and descending. It involves transmission of holiness and transmission of intercession, of prayer, of needs from the earth into the heavenly realm where there's no need, where there's much provision. It involves the release of back into the earth. This is the portal. This is the temple. This is the tower. This is the stone upon it's built. Now we're going to see that the Holy One has a vision that's much bigger than one stone. And it involves all people. But let's get into this, the idea. It's called Beit El, the house of the Tabernacle, as the... It's called the temple, Dash, the sanctuary in King James Version. It's called multiple names. It's all the same thing. It's all the different facets of looking at what it is. But what it is the Holy One inhabiting earth, being with his people. I will be your God, and you will be my people, and I will dwell on earth with man amongst you, amidst you. That is the house of the Holy One upon the earth. It is represented by the physical body and life of Yeshua that lived in the flesh. It is represented by the Kehillah, or the one new man group, fellowship. It's not a congregation as human beings think of that. It's not a denomination. It's not a religion. It is not an institution. It is none of those things. It is instead the fact that multiple people at the same time are hosting the divine presence, hosting the divine personality and persona of the Holy One. That becomes when the Kehillah, the English Bible strangely call it the church, but let's call it the assembly, the congregation. But it's not about us getting together and meeting. It is about us being all uniquely, all individually filled with the fullness of the presence and the majesty of the Holy One. And so each individual follower of the way of the Holy One becomes this temple, this tabernacle, this mishkan, this imagery, this follower of Yeshua. Every follower of the way does that. And then obviously this will be manifested by the temple of the Lamb in the book of Revelation. We'll see those things. Now, the tent maker's dream involves our mind. It involves what we do with our minds and what we do with our hands and other parts of our interactions with humanity as well. But first of all, it starts with our mind. The heavenlies and the throne room of the King, the beauty realm of our King, needs to become our center of gravity, our home base, our headquarters. We are to become primarily, though we live on the earth and though we still do our jobs and we have our families and we make some income for the money, and we try to be productive in every facet of the natural existence that we live, though we do all those things, the center of gravity, the home base, the headquarters of our lives is in the heavenlies. It is we're seated with the Messiah, Yeshua, in heavenly places, as Paul would put it. We have this place in this center of gravity, and we bring that by our thoughts and by our words and by our actions into manifest form where people can see it on the earth. So the center of gravity of our lives becomes the heavenly throne room of the Holy One. Oh, can you picture it? Can you imagine? That's why he gave us this vision last week in Parsha, in the last Parsha we read, which was Mishpatim. Near the end of Mishpatim, he showed us this vision of himself, and we ate and drank in his presence. 74 of us did, at least, as representatives of us. And we ate. We saw the sapphire, the sapphire in English, but sapphire foundation of his throne and the platform before his throne, and we focused upon that, and we didn't die, though it seems like we should have. We didn't die. As a matter of fact, we were able to eat and drink and carry on conversation in the presence of this majesty. Well, this picture was given, and it's going to be fleshed out over the next several chapters, over the next several books of Torah, as a matter of fact. So the center of gravity of our camp becomes that throne vision. Is that the center of gravity of your life? If it is the center of gravity of your life, you can handle stuff on earth without getting offended. You can handle stuff on earth without being wounded in your soul or your spirit. You can handle things like that. You can get above. You can transcend anger and outrage and all those sorts of things, and worry and anxiety. You can transcend fear and panic and terror. You can transcend panic attacks. You can transcend self-absorption and narcissism. You can transcend these things because your center of gravity is not inside you. It is up in the heavenly realm. And when you stand in the presence of the King, before his throne, in his beauty realm, it fills you with energy and power and awe and nothing of yourself, all wishing the glory of the Holy One. Think of Isaiah in chapter 6 of Isaiah. I saw the Holy One high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple, and the pillars shook, and I heard a voice saying, "Who will go for us? Who can we send, and who will go for us?" And the first thing that happened, my hand went up, and I cried out, "I will go. Here am I, send me." Well, why do we do that when we're in the presence of the Holy One? Because suddenly we don't matter. Our comfort, our well-being physically on earth does not matter. What matters is that the will of the Holy One may be done, that the beauty of the Holy One may be reflected upon the earth in the life of a human being. May it be us. May it be you. May it be your family. May it be your children. May it be your spouse. May it be all that you know, the people in your fellowship or your faith community. Well, he's going to talk about that. So the presence of the Holy One, the temple that is in the heavenlies, the throne and the base of the throne of the Holy One becomes our center of gravity. And then it becomes the foundation on which we build. Though we may have physical things on earth that we have to deal with, we will. The actual foundation of everything we build is on the King's throne. And it becomes our matrix of thought. We think everything not based upon how we feel in the flesh or what we would think according to our ideology or our political theory, but on the basis of what serves the best interest of heaven. And it becomes our matrix of thought, our matrix of belief, our matrix of motivation. It becomes a point of entry, exit, and communion, and a place where we know we are welcomed there. We know we are expected to be there. We have a place there. The Yeshua said it this way: in my Father's house are many, and we read it in mansions in English, or rooms. There are many places, many spaces, many seats, many realms where we are to be in the heavenly realm. And each one of us has one, and that becomes the natural place where we love to sit. Everybody has their favorite chair or couch or love seat in their living room, usually. If they have a living room, they're blessed to have a living room. But in heavenly, we have our own place, and it's where we always go to sit, and it's where to kneel, or to cry, or to fall on our faces, or to stand and offer our service, whatever, and do our avodah, our service. That is our place. And so to find this place and know that is where we really belong. Now the tabernacle will have 3 chambers that he tells us to build. It'll have an outer court. It'll have a wall around the outer court. It'll have an outer court. It'll have furnishings in the outer court, the brazen altar. It will have the bronze laver. The priest will interact with humanity. We will have an entry way where we actually sense that we are leaving one realm and entering another realm when we enter it. That's called the way, the entry gate of the tabernacle, and then we'll be in the outer court. And then there is a tent within a tent. There is an inner chamber, and it has two separate chambers within it, separated by a veil. The first inner chamber, where the avodah of the Kohen, the priests, are, and that's the furnishings there will be the menorah, 7-branch menorah, the table of showbread, lechem paneh, and then we have the golden altar of incense. Those will be in this other chamber. And then there's the inner chamber, which is the center of gravity of everything. That's where the throne is. The throne is made up of the Ark of the Covenant with the mercy seat, or kippuret in Hebrew, actually just a cover. And the cover has these cherubim on either end with their wings outspread that actually become the throne, the seat of the Holy One to manifest His presence. This is all pictures. This is all images. This is all the way in which the Holy One desires to train us that is supposed to be us. We are supposed to have these things, these different levels operative in us. And at the heart of it, He sits on the throne of our life. And underneath His feet is the sephir, the words of the Holy One. And in the Ark of the Covenant, in the actual place where He rests, upon which He rests, this is the Torah. And the Torah becomes the Constitution, more than the Constitution, the lifeblood. Say the river of life comes out from under the throne, right? So that when the Torah comes out from Him, it's like the river of life coming into our world. That should happen. This is the constant flow of the river of life of the Torah in our world, into our lives. So, Parshat Terumah introduces us to these things. Wow, what an amazing journey we have to take. The tent maker's dream is such a beautiful thing to me. I've actually am writing a book. I've done some videos, and I encourage you to ask me about them, and I'll see if I can find a way to get those up online. A series of videos about the tent maker's dream and about what this means. And it's not from the standpoint of you memorizing all the details, how many cubits this is and how many cubits that is, and how this color relates to that color and this image relates to that image. Those things are interesting and worthy of some conversation. But I want to focus in what the Tent Maker's Dream book and series of videos that I'm doing focus on is what this means to you and how this impacts your calling and destiny in life. Welcome one and all to the beauty realm of the King of Glory. This is your new home headquarters. This is where you will come. No matter what's going on in the world around you, this is where you will regularly come, morning and evening, or evening and morning. You will come on special Sabbaths. You will come on special days. You will come whenever your heart leads you to come. You will come here for training. You will come to this throne room. You will come to this chamber for assignments, for briefings, for promotions, for discipline, to receive rules of engagement for your next assignment, to receive corrective discipline as necessary, to receive healing, to receive, and not just to receive it for yourself, but to carry it for others. Receive healing, receive forgiveness, receive spiritual nutrition that you can take with you. All spiritual nutrition is designed for you to carry and share with others, not for you to completely consume on your own. Also, you come to this place to receive spiritual nutrition, spiritual inspiration, spiritual empowerment, and of course, spiritual vision. This is your new home. This should become the home base for you. You should feel more comfortable here than anywhere else. Where is this? This is the throne room of heaven. Now, it is our appointed time to do something this week. We're going to spend a long time in the rest of the book Exodus and all through Leviticus and part of Numbers learning some of these protocols. But it is our appointed time to learn the Majesty Protocols. Do you want to know what majesty is? Do you want to experience majesty? Do you want to actually embrace majesty for yourself? To be higher on things that are more pure, more beautiful, more healing, more restorative? Then this is the time to learn that. This is His Majesty Protocols that He'll be teaching us. And not only but His Majesty Protocols, because it's always wonderful to have majesty, but if you don't do anything with your majesty, if you don't use majesty and employ majesty in ways that heal other people, then what good is it? It's just a game you play in your mind. So the next thing is not just majesty protocols, but what I call Tikkun Abu Dhab. Abu Dhab is a Hebrew word that we usually translate as ministry or service. When we serve other people, don't focus upon ourselves. We serve other people. We serve the land on which we exist. We serve the places in which we dwell. We serve the communities. We serve, this being a service. So Tikkun Abu Dhab. Tikkun means restore, repair, fix. So all about redemption, all about restoration. So now we learn not just the majesty protocols of our King, but we learn the Tikkun Abu Dhab, how to serve him in ways that heal and restore the earth in physical ways, and people, human beings that are broken. He specializes in broken humanity, broken human beings, flawed, wasted in many ways, cast away people by the earth. This is who he specializes in, and he intends to employ us to use our kingdom majesty protocols and Tikkun Abu Dhab to bring some level of healing and restoration to as well. Now, this calling that he's bringing to bear on us in Parshat Terumah, beginning with chapter 26 of Exodus, is a calling to embrace and put on a series of crowns of 9 jewels. We have been talking about that the last 2 weeks. I've tried to let you imagine that the goal of the creator of the universe in this training program, compare it, I know this is a common or profane, compare it to martial arts training program where you go through a series of belts. I don't remember, I wasn't part of one, but let's just say yellow and red and different colors of belts all the way to black belt, which obviously is the highest level. These are the levels of proficiency. As you grow in proficiency, as you meet certain protocols, you get another belt. You get a higher color of belt. Well, this is the way it is with the Holy One. These crowns, each of these crowns would correspond roughly to the belts of martial arts, karate, or any judo, or any of the martial arts. So now if you understand that, and what we're looking at a series of 10 crowns. Yeshua was crowned, he saw 10 crowns on his head. He wears all the crowns, but we have been talking about one crown at a time. Each crown has 9 jewels. There are series of 10 things, and one is the crown itself, and then the 9 jewels go around it. We talked about the 10 jewels and the 9 jewels and the crown of I am the Holy One, your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, from Exodus 20, and then the other things, all the things that were there are jewels in that crown. He wants us to wear that crown as the base crown. And I've talked to you also about the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit being the Spirit of the Holy One being the crown. When we have the fruit of the Spirit, we should have His fruit, the 9 jewels of the fruit: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, goodness, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-denial or self-control. These are the crowns. And so there are basically 10 crowns throughout the Scripture that are mentioned, and we are about to embrace another one, the crowns that we're going to get. Our calling is to put on each of the king's crowns of 9 jewels, one by one, as we're learning, being apprenticed in a martial art, in order that we can become worthy ambassadors and courtiers and carriers of His Kedusha, holiness, His wisdom, His love, His joy, His shalom, His long-suffering mercy, His kindness, His goodness, His gentleness, His covenant faithfulness, and His ability to postpone His own self promotion and desires to serve other people, self-denial, self-control. That is our calling here at this mountain. The secret place that we are going to build and then become. First build on earth, and then populate and use, and then eventually become. The secret place is called the Mikdash, sanctuary, also the Mishkan, the place of dwelling, called the Tabernacle, The Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, is a place of actual interaction. It is not a place of exclusion or of being a monk or in a monastery. We're actually having communion with the Holy One and with other people as in the Ohel Moed. And then finally the Mishkan HaEdut, and that means basically translated in English is Tabernacle of the Testimony. It becomes our story, our relationship with the tabernacle, our relationship with the glory realm, the beauty realm of heaven. Our relationship with the throne becomes our story. It becomes our testimony. And so as we become the tabernacle, as we become the Mishkan, then what flows out of us is a testimony of what happens in the beauty realm and how the beauty realm, the vision and perspective and kindness and compassion of the King, mercies of the King and goodness, those things all will flow out of us in that regard. The most important thing to remember as we study in Parshat, Terumah, and then the subsequent Parshas is that every picture tells a story. If you forget this, you'll get all caught up in the details. You'll be caught up in the minutiae. You'll be imagining, if you're of that leaning, you'll be imagining you're seeing stuff that you don't see. You'll be thinking you know stuff you don't know. This is eternal, infinite pictures that were being drawn. But every picture tells a story. Learn the story, and the story is much more important than the picture. So you may see for instance, the brazen altar. What does that brazen altar mean? How are you going? You're supposed to build this. That's one of the things he says in Parshat Terumah. Build for me, make for me. And he starts off with the Ark of the Covenant. Make for me an Aron Kodesh, a holy receptacle. Well, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Are you a holy receptacle? Have you made in yourself, within your heart, within your mind, a holy receptacle for his Torah, which is what the Ark of the Covenant really is. It's not some magic tool like you see in the Raiders of the Lost Ark or something like that. It's not that. What it is a holy receptacle for the wisdom of the Torah, which becomes the river of life as waters of life flow out of it. Every picture tells a story. Are you that? Have you built him? Have you built him the table of showbread? Have you built him the menorah? Have you built something for him in your life? Is it visible? Is it active? Is it operative in your interactions with other people? Is it operative in your interactions with creation, with the species of creation, with circumstances and challenges of this physical life, of relationships? Is your menorah active? Are you a light? Are you emanating, constantly flowing with eternal light? Are you keeping things clean? Are you keeping things focused? Are the things that a light has to do? Okay. Are you keeping the fire burning in those processes? What about the table? Are you continually providing nourishment? Are you taking of the holy things? Remember he said, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Are you keeping that table full? Are you meditating in the Word? Are you studying the Word? And then are you meditating? And are you keeping the spirit and the love and the passion and the purpose of the Word? Or are you just getting caught up in the minutiae of the language itself, the vocabulary itself? So every picture tells a story. And what that means is that I'm going to give you something that I call the spiritual law of mirroring. Right? Heaven is not up here. It's all around you. We are mirrors of heaven. That is what we're here to be. We're to mirror what's going on in heaven. So everything that he's going to show us in this tour, this guided tour of the heavenlies in the throne room and the beauty realm that he's going to give us, all these different things he's going to tell us to build are designed to function as mirrors of the heavenlies. I can also call this the spiritual law of offsetting spiritual and physical parallels. The spiritual law of offsetting physical and spiritual parallels. It means this. I'm going to rephrase it. This is my terminology. First step is that every object that the Holy One directs us to build, and which he says he will inhabit, in the earthly tabernacle or Mishkan, in this realm, mirrors something. An eternal reality, first of all, an eternal reality that is related to Messiah. In other words, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, is all about the Messiah. But it's not just about the Messiah. It's about the Messiah and all who follow him. It is about Messiah and what he's building and what he's doing upon the earth, even in your life right now, and what he intends to build in your life and your children and your children's children's lives through the covenant, through the kingdom. So it's an eternal reality related to Messiah in the heavenly Mishkan. In other words, it's mirroring something in the heavenly realm in your life, in the spiritual realm. And secondly, another way in which we mirror heaven is that everything in the tabernacle, everything in the physical structure he's going to tell us to build, that we're going to read about, every picture he shows us, is a relation-building truth which each of us is to find a way to represent in the world in real time, in real-life situations, in the course of our earthly walk with the bridegroom king amongst the ordinary mess and fallenness of our world. Our purpose at this particular stage is to learn how to just get used to it, acclimate to the beauty realm, and then we'll learn how to activate it after we've acclimated it. All right, I want to move forward a little bit into the Parshat itself. Let's introduce the tabernacle concept, idea. It's a physical and a movable structure. That's why I don't ever focus in my teaching upon the temple. The temple is the picture of the tabernacle. If the temple is anything besides the tabernacle and models anything, includes anything besides the tabernacle, it's a mixture of man and the Holy One. So this is the key. The temple is just a picture of the tabernacle, and not necessarily a good picture all the time. Herod's temple certainly was not. And any of the temples that you see built by other people, no, not at all. Introduction to the tabernacle as a movable structure. The tabernacle is designed to move to every place of the earth. It may have its seat, its root in Jerusalem on Temple Mount, or in the city of David, depending on which way you look at this, on Mount Zion. But nevertheless, this is a movable. It goes everywhere. As Yeshua tabernacled among us, it says in John 1:14, he tabernacled among us. He shekaned among us. He became the Mishkan among us, according to a blueprint, a pattern. So are we, as his followers and disciples, called to tabernacle, to Mishkan, to shakan among the people and the nations of the world, according to the very same pattern, same elements, same fixtures, same furnishings, same avodah. It's not something new. We haven't learned something new in Messiah. We've learned something old in Messiah. We've learned what the whole idea of the Mishkan was by seeing it acted out in his life. As Shaul of Tarsus called Paul by the King James Version, do you not, as he said, do you not know that your body, your physical form, is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, and that you are not your own? All right. So if we talk about the first words that tell us about the tabernacle, he's going to say in Hebrew, "Ve'asu li mikdash," make or build for me a receptacle of abiding holiness. I hope those words ring over you. I'm going to repeat the Hebrew and the English, my translation. Ve'asu li mikdash. This is what the Holy One, this is his words. The creator of the universe is speaking into your heart. And this is speaking to Moshe, but he's speaking through Moshe to you. This is your job. This is your task. This is your reason to be alive. Ve'asu li mikdash, he says. Build for me a receptacle of abiding holiness, kedosha, holiness. V'asu li mikdash. Next, v'shakanti betocham. That's the next words the Holy One speaks after v'asu li mikdash. He says, v'shakanti betocham, and I will dwell in, among, in the midst of, within them. This is his goal. He wants a place on earth to abide. He wants it in human form. But he'll take it on a temporary basis, on an illustrative basis, on a teaching tool. As a teaching tool, he'll take it in the form of a tabernacle. So Vishikanti, he wants to dwell, Shikan, among us. Kekol asher ani mare orka et tavnit hamishkan. According to all that I teach you, build this Mishkan, place of Shekani. Et tavnit kol chalav v'chen ta'asu, and make all of its furnishings and implements according to the plan, the blueprint that I am providing you, showing you. Well, here we go. This is the great call into the tabernacle season. And this is the great plan. And again, we should run away and hide. So I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can make my mouth. I don't think I can make my eyes. I don't think I can make my ears. I don't think I can make my heart. I don't think I can make my hands and my life a tabernacle, a receptacle of abiding holiness. And you can't unless he comes to dwell within you and you surrender everything that you are to that purpose and that plan. Now, the tabernacle design actually provides, that he gives us in Exodus, actually gives us a pathway. It gives us a series of engagement rules, protocols, ways in which we can learn to embrace that holiness, become that receptacle of holiness. And so each part of the tabernacle is an essential part of our walk with the Holy One. It didn't go away because the physical structure died. The pattern after which it was built, the holy throne room, still exists, and our job is to bring that down, whether we have a physical tabernacle in the form that he mentions in Exodus or not. We are supposed to dwell there and abide in his secret place, in his courts, in his beauty realm, and that is to change us. Once we have attached ourselves to our divine guide, and that divine guide is Messiah Yeshua for us. He is the one who knows how to go into those courts and then come down into earth and then reflect the beauty of the holy things in the earth. He knows how to do that and keep the perspective of the long term, the helicopter view versus what we do. So he is our guide, and we follow him. We just do what he does, and we hear and listen to what he speaks, and we speak what he speaks. He is so alive. He's not dead. That's why I don't like to see images of the crucifix. Not that I don't remember and believe that he died, but he doesn't die. He lives. He lives in us, and he's alive right now, and he's ministering, and he's in us right now. He's trying to guide us right now into these holy places, into the holy realm. So we just follow him, and we capture the essence of his being, and he sparks something as we commune with him, and as we follow him, as we're in his presence, as we note his beauty and his grace of what he does in his life. We begin to have sparks begin to stir up in ourselves. We awaken things in ourselves. Sparks of eternity, sparks of pre-fall, brilliance and majesty, they begin to awaken again. And he leads us in a procession constantly in life, up the way into the heavenlies, the way to bring the heavenlies back, on this staircase that Yaakov saw, to go with where the angels tread, and to come back and do that way, and stick the landing, so to speak, as we'll talk about in days to come. Well, you know how to pass through a veil to go into the beauty realm, and then pass back through the veil to come back to earth. So, what is the way? It is the way embodied by the Torah and pictured by the Mishkan. The tabernacle, physical tabernacle of Exodus' first purpose is to serve as a parlor of sorts. It's to where he can host us, and we can be in the presence of majesty for limited periods of time, under perfect chaperoning, where we're not overcome, where we'll learn not to run away and hide every time we hear his voice, every time we see his majesty, every time we hear the great shofar, every time we will learn not to do that, but instead we'll learn how gradually through parlor type interactions, scheduled, sequenced, limited in time and scope, according to a schedule, a calendar. Well, through these events we will learn how to do it. So the tabernacle of Exodus, his first purpose is to serve as a parlor for betrothal period interactions, where we learn to interact with on a safe level, on a trust building level with the creator of the universe. It's like when a bride in a covenant, bride to be, betrothed, learns how to relate to her husband to be through chaperoned interactions with family members and things like that and friends, where they never too alone too much too soon. They learn how to learn how the other person acts and lives and thinks by virtue of chaperoned interactions. That's the way the parlor works. Also, however, this tabernacle is going to become a stage for us, a stage for a great passion play. The greatest passion play known to man is going to take place in these chambers of this courts. We're going to see acts played out. We're going to see drama revealed. We're going to see humanity broken and healed and restored, and relationships, all the things. That waits the book of Leviticus to show you how that all works. But I just want you to know this is a stage. This is where we'll do things on special calendared events, calendared seasons. Tabernacle, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Pesach, and unleavened bread, and the counting of the Omer, and the Shavuot. These things, we'll see all these take place there. This is the center. This is the stage on which the main part of the action takes place. Day of Atonement, obviously, Yom Kippur. We are connected in our world to what's going on in the heavenly tabernacle and on the earthly tabernacle as the mirror image of that. Different acts of the play, the great passion play that the Creator wants us to be cast members of, are acted out at different times of the year, obviously. Some things are done daily, evening and morning. We present ourselves and offer an olah. We offer to voluntarily surrender our will to His will, our plans to His plan, our dreams to His dream, every evening and every morning. That happens at the Brazen Altar of the tabernacle that we're going to see. So part of it happens daily. Other things are done Shabbat by Shabbat, Sabbath by Sabbath. New fresh bread is laid out every Sabbath. This is going to happen at the table of showbread, and this every week we change out put out a new fresh wisdom from the Holy One, new fresh words, bread of life from the Holy One. We knew a new image of Messiah, a new picture of the Torah that's come forth. That's why we do a portion every week. We divide the Torah up into 54 portions, and we do one every week with a couple of combinations here and there to make it work out numerically. But we do this so that we have bread on the table, fresh bread on the table every Shabbat, and fresh wisdom from heaven. Some of the dramas that take place in our Passion play on this stage of the Tabernacle of Exodus will be acted out on new moons, the Rosh Chodesh, and some at each harvest season, at the harvest of the grains. We have both Passover, unleavened bread, and we also have Shavuot in the harvest seasons of the grains. Then the harvest seasons of the trees and the vines. Then we have the Feast of Tabernacles, also Yom Kippur, Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets. All these things are tied to these harvest seasons, and they're all connected to this particular structure. These activities are continually being replayed on the stage every year, year after year, as a teaching tool, as a methodology to reconnect us with the holy realm and what's going on in the holy realm, generation after generation. We're supposed to teach these things to our children and model them in front of our children. And we're supposed to get familiar with them and the stage itself and the costumes and the props and the entire action, the screenplay. So, we have so much to learn. Last week, we renewed the mind and learned how to think about focusing on fixing the brokenness of this world, and how to ascend into and serve as courtiers of the courts and the beauty realm of our Holy King, even while our feet are firmly planted in this world and its issues. The opening verse of our Parsha this week goes like this. Now, I read earlier, or talked to you earlier about what's at verse 8 and 9 of this first chapter, chapter 25. I should have said 25, I said 26 all along. 25, begin the first two verses of chapter 25 go like this. V'adabar Adonai el Moshe lemor. And the Holy One spoke to Moshe, saying, that from that point forward, everything else is in red. Everything else is the voice of the Holy One. That was just the introduction that he's about to speak. And then everything else you're going to hear is his speaking. Daber el bnei Israel. Declare, speak to the children, the sons of Israel. Ve'yechu li terumah. Take for me a terumah, an elevation, ascent, transcendence manifestation. Take something that will help them to elevate, to ascend, to transcend. In English, you're going to read offering, which is, boy, what a strange way of doing things. I implore you to rethink that and look at it real carefully. Look at the root word for teruma. The root verb is rum, which means to ascend, to cause to elevate, to cause to transcend, to get buoyancy, to get a higher level, to go on higher ground. It's not about making an offering. But at any rate, we'll see how I understand English thinks that way. Kings of the earth, rulers, elites of the earth want you to give an offering. They want you to give a sacrifice. They want something from you. Physical, manifest, material. The creator of the universe does not have any need for any of that. He does not have any desire. That is not his appetite to get something from you, physically, material. So take the offering thing off the table. What this is he wants you to have an instrumentality, a protocol, a method by which you can ascend, by which you can elevate, by which you can transcend the things that are on the earth. This is about you and your benefit, not something for him. So don't leave off this idea of offering into the idea of what will elevate you, what will get you above water, what will get you into a buoyancy state where you can see and thrive. Vayechu li terumah, then me'et kol ish asher yidvenu libo iku et terumati. Excuse me. For every man who volunteers it from the heart would be the English translation. For every man who gives willingly from the heart, who volunteers it from his heart, take from me an elevation instrumentality. Take from me this thing. In other words, you are to not force anyone to give, not force anyone to step into this realm of elevation until they're ready. When they're ready, when they're willing, then you are to take it and you are to use it to help them elevate themselves. All right. All the elites and the sovereigns of this world want offerings and sacrifices, but not our king. He doesn't need them. He doesn't use them. He has no appetite for them. He has a father's heart. His heart of a father. He wants his sons and daughters to overcome their inertia, to overcome their chains and their things that bind them, make them earthbound, make them emotionally unstable, make them upset, angry, outraged. He wants you to be able to disentangle from those things, so he wants to give you an elevation instrumentality. He wants you to help to shake off everything that hinders you, as the writer of Hebrews would say, and to ascend to your highest level of potential in life. He knows that for you to do that, you have to dramatically alter the status quo. You can't leave things as they are and hope to ascend. You got to jettison some stuff. You got to get rid of some things that you don't need, and in order to ascend. If you're trying to get higher, you want to start shaking off stuff that's keeping you low. It's weighing you down. That's pulling more gravity against you. So that's what he has. This is the idea of the elevation presentation, the terumah. And so he wants you to change the status quo by investing something that seems worthwhile to you in this realm in his vision for what is real and what is most important in the beauty realm. In the course of this parsha, the Holy One himself is trying to inscribe, plant his beauty realm in your spiritual DNA, in your mind, in your heart, in your thoughts, in your meditations, in your dreams, in your visions. It's like he's doing to you in this conversation that we're having right now. He's trying to do to you what he did to Yaakov when Yaakov put his head on that rock, the desire to bring this hunger to ascend with those angels into the holy realm and then come back down and bring that holiness into the earth. King James Version calls the terumah an offering or a heave or a lifted up offering. But it's an instrumentality of ascent, a flotation device. If you picture this image, imagine that you are in a flood and you are being carried away. I've been in this situation. My life was in great jeopardy because I don't swim, and a water constantly taking me down under the water, and I'm just flailing enough to try to stay above water as long as I can. The raging floodwaters carrying me down. It was a float trip and an ill-advised season in it, nevertheless. And so I was in this process of thinking I was going to drown, but fighting with all that was in me to stay at least above water enough to catch a breath before I went down under again. Well, but at a certain stage, I began to get enough of a buoyancy to where I could keep my head above the water. I was floating fast enough. It was part of the speed of the river, part of the situation I was in, and my body laying out. Anyway, with floating, I was able to stay where most of the time my mouth was above the water. And I realized that, okay, there is more going on. I am probably not going to drown if I can just get to the shore. If I can make myself move in a different direction. I got to fight the current. I got to fight all these different things. But there is hope. I see a vision for something that is survival and overcoming and transcending. That's buoyancy. I've received that level of buoyancy. And now the idea is a pathway to get me to the shore, to get me out, and then get the vision that goes with it. So that is what terumah means, to get beyond the threatening, life-threatening mess that you're in and not having any vision besides just surviving, to a perspective where you actually know you can thrive because there is life outside this realm. And there are things that you could use in that other realm that you're wanting to go to, that you see, that you now realize exist and coexist with the world you're in. Make your time here in the water actually better and thrive even at the lower levels. So that's the idea of the terumah. There is a pathway that leads to the beauty realm. There is a pathway that we should be very familiar with, a well-worn pathway, hopefully, in your life. The Torah is the medium, the conversation, the intimacy with Yeshua as we follow him and watch him live out the Torah and in real life situations. These are the steps of the pathway. And along the road, you will find the various different furnishings of the tabernacle, the way, the entry point as you come in and you are greeted by the priest. You will then find your way to the brazen altar. And it will be, what do you need to jettison? What do you need to leave behind in order to ascend to the higher levels? What needs to be burned on the altar? What needs to be a basis of your communion with the Holy One and your surrender of your will and your ways and your relationships to him? That all takes place. The transactions of the brazen altar, they're part of the pathway that leads to Chai Olam, the hidden life of the beauty realm. What is it today he's calling upon you to leave behind? What is it even right now as I look in the camera and I talk to you? What is it that the Holy One is saying, that you don't need that? Matter of fact, you need to get rid of that before your next day. Is it a way of thinking? Is it emotion? Is it woundedness? Is it an offense? Is it anger at a brother or a cousin or a family member or a politician or a government official? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it unbelief? Is it worry, anxiety? What is it? Is it a sense of victimization? Is it a sense of ethnic pride? Is it a sense of separation and superiority? Is it a sense of inferiority? Is it fear of rejection? What is it that needs to go on that altar today? This altar, the brazen altar, is one of the stations along the journey that leads you from the between realms up to the beauty realm. And then the brazen altar. What elements of uncleanness have attached themselves to you? What do you need him to wash off of you? Clean me a clean heart? Is it a clean heart that you need? Is it a clean mind? Do you need to quit thinking? Just ask him to help you quit thinking of certain things, certain issues, quit looking at certain things on the internet, quit looking at certain things on television, quit looking at certain things in books, quit looking at the news, the politics, quit looking at stuff that only brings more trauma and more tragedy and more disaster into the world, or it only focuses you on the things of the earth. Quit looking at those things. Quit looking at fashion. Quit looking at what other neighbors have, what other material things they've got, how much somebody else is making versus how much you're making, how much opportunity it seems like or privilege somebody has versus you, what the wealthy are doing with their money. What is it that he needs to wash off of you? Because it's not going to let you go into the deeper realms, the lower, higher levels of ascent that he wants to take you on. And if you pass through, if Yeshua can take you through that and let you wash off of you the things of that bronze laver, and can you take you through the veil that leads you into the holy place? Can he take you into where now the issue is, what is clogging up? What is keeping you from being a bright and shining light? What needs to be adjusted? What needs to be cleansed inside in your light production methodologies? How is your Torah study going? How are you doing with implementing his mercy calling and his kindness calling and his self-denial calling in real time, in real life? How's your menorah? How's your table of showbread? How is your protocols? How are your disciplines of study? How are you doing on Shabbat? How are you incorporating his wisdom on Shabbat? This new bread, this fresh bread that's put out, how are you keeping it salted with fresh salt? This is part of the protocols of the table. Frankincense, how are you keeping it sweet smelling as opposed to being, stuff, you've read stuff, you can quote stuff, you can spew stuff, but it smells bad. It doesn't smell like frankincense. It doesn't have a healing touch to it. It doesn't have a healing redemptive power to it. How are your table protocols? How are your table disciplines in the holy place and then the altar of incense? Are you creating a pleasing fragrant aroma to the Holy One with your life? Are you creating a pleasing, fragrant aroma to your neighbors, to your co-laborers? How about to the world in general? Is your life a pleasing, fragrant aroma to the Holy One? Are you daily, evening, and following morning, are you making sure that you are presenting to the Holy One something that fills the atmosphere with beauty and with majesty and with goodness and with the gratitude and all the things that need to take place that reflect the atmosphere of heaven upon the earth? And then can the Master, can Yeshua actually take us through that next veil in scheduled time and proper time, and through that beautiful veil with the cherubim, and lead us into that holy place where the holiness just floods over you, where it's almost too much to bear, where you feel like you're going to die or be translated or something's going to happen to you. And now you look and you see at the base, all you can look at the very base of the ground, and there is the Ark of the Covenant. And there it is, and you know that the water is flowing, the rivers of living water are flowing out of that Torah. Do you receive the Torah that way? Is it rivers of living water to you? Is it life-giving? Are there trees growing from it that bear the fruit for the healing of the nations? Is that what Torah is to you? And you see, that's the base of everything. That's the center of gravity. That's the North Star of your life. Is that what you're seeing there? Oh, and then you see the seat, above the seat, above the ark, above the Torah, between the Torah and the Holy One, there's this buffer, and this buffer is a covering, and it's covered with the blood of Yeshua, the blood of Mashiach. It's covered with the blood of the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world. And out of the Holy One comes his attributes: mercy, merciful. He says that's who he is. Compassionate, slow to anger. Now, are you getting it? Is his fullness, his majesty pulsing over you? Well, this is what we learn to do. These are the steps. These are the stages. These are the stations of the journey from the natural realm, the ordinary realm where we live, into the realm of the beauty and the holiness and the energy and the Kedusha of God. This is what waits for us at the top of the staircase, as Yaakov would see it. Well, Parshat Terumah has many things. I've given you a little introduction to the stations along the way. I'll leave it to you to go and read the details. Don't get caught up too much in the details. Remember that every picture that you're reading about tells a story. And that story is about the grand plan where he will actually abide in you, and you in him. And together you will become the temple of the Holy One upon the earth, the tabernacle, the place of his shakaning, of his dwelling, and you will reflect his kedusha, his glory, his beauty. You will be the mirror of his beauty and majesty upon the earth. Little bit by little bit, it won't happen all at once, but we keep focused on that. Shabbat Zakor, stay focused, keep your mind focused on that process. That is what he's calling you to do and be. And in his strength, with him, this is your new normal. This is your reality. Shabbat shalom to everyone. If you would leave a message or a note that you've been here, your thoughts. I know we talked about some high-sounding things. I want it all for you to be a life-giving message. And may you all let us know if we can pray for you, if you have comments or questions. Amen. Shabbat shalom. See you next time.